Now, moving on to the concept of equality between gender or sexes. What are Christian attitudes towards gender? Well, here it's not quite as clear. And a good way to think about it is by dividing Christians into fundamentalist or Roman Catholics and liberals, Anglicans. The distinction means that we have one group of Christians who, whilst they may see men and women as equal, they certainly believe that men have a more important or significant role. So fundamentalists would say that men should have a priority over women, and they've got several reasons for this. In the revision guide, I name 9. First of all, that Adam was created first by God, and that Eve was made as a companion for Adam. That Eve actually was made out of one of Adam's ribs, and so without Adam, Eve wouldn't have existed. That Adam names all the animals, and as such seems to have more power over the environment than Eve. Eve, of course, gives into temptation first and seems morally weaker. When God came to earth, God came as Jesus, who was a man, and there were no male disciples. So, the fact that men and women were made differently by God, God making man from the dust of the earth, but using part of a man to make woman, seems to indicate, for fundamentalists anyway, that men are more important than women. Now, the impact of this within the fundamentalist church is that they say that women cannot have important leadership roles within the Roman Catholic Church, and so you don't get female priests. They say that women are not in a position to perform the sort of sacred duties of the Eucharist or the Mass, where the wine gets blessed. So, on the one hand, we've got fundamentalists who believe that men should have a priority over women. On the other hand, liberal Christians are much more forward-looking. They would say that whilst there is an obvious difference between men and women, and that men perhaps don't have the nurturing qualities of women and certainly can't give birth, nevertheless they should have equal opportunities. And the concept of a soul, and that being the image of God within men and women, is very important and central to liberal thinking about the relationship between men and women. So men and women should share housework and childcare, and that they should have equal rights in the workplace and elsewhere in society. Now, the impact of that is that liberal churches, like Anglican churches, do have senior female church leaders. They have female vicars and female ministers in the liberal churches. But more broadly speaking, European culture has gone through considerable change with regard to its attitudes towards gender, and Christian thinking has changed to parallel that. Certainly after the Second World War, women were in a much stronger position with regard to the idea of them going out to work and earning money and being financially independent than they'd ever been. And the movement called feminism championed the rights of women to be taken with equal respect in the workplace. And the Equal Pay Act of 1975 and the Sex Discrimination Act of 1975 laid down in law the idea that women should be paid the same amount as men for the same job, and that it would be illegal to discriminate against women, or men for that matter, on the basis of what the job was.